So, hey everybody, this is not going to be another eating video. That was not sort of my thing, but I wanted to finish my story. So this is not going to be a talking mukbang. We're just going to have tea time. Actually, this is plant milk. If you want me to do a video on that, I'll go ahead and do that on my other channel. And I did a video on these chocolates. If you haven't seen that, I'll link that down below. But they were really too hard to eat. But when you dip them in this chocolate,
so
in the milk,
respond.
It makes it soft enough to eat. So we're gonna have instead of milk and cookie, milk and chocolate time. These glasses are so cute. We got them at a street fair or farmer's market or whatever in San Diego. And you've got these little divots in it. You can put your fingers and it makes it super comfortable so you won't drop it. They're like handmade. They come in all different sizes. You can see this one and this one. They're slightly different sizes compared to like this one and this one. Yeah, because they're all handmade and we just bought a bunch of them. So like, yeah, it's super good. You can't really put hot tea in here or any hot coffee or whatever because the outside of the ceramic gets really hot, but it's great for cold drinks. So I wanted to go ahead and finish my story about where are we going. Has our story changed? Now, before you watch this video, please go ahead and watch the other videos in the series because you might be confused about this whole story and so you can keep track of what's been going on. So I'll wait.
Yes.
All right. Did you go to those videos? Okay. So now, let's backtrack. Way backtrack. Back to the beginning of when this situation all started to unfold. And how we got here on this crazy life journey that was not at all anyway the way we had specifically planned for it.
I saw that.
So, now, a year ago,
yeah, they're not on the beach side though, so
no, more than that now. It was about February of last year. John quit his job in Sacramento where we lived, and we moved down back here to Southern California. We had been living in Sacramento for about 3 years, and so
Jesus, you got him though.
He left his job and we came down here because we wanted, well, what happened was my dad had cancer and, you know, we wanted to spend the days with him, and my mom needed help. And I don't want to get into their situation because that's their private information that I don't want to talk about because they have not given me permission, and my mom's kind of doesn't want her personal life out in the open. So, to say the least, we moved from Sacramento back down here to take care of my dad. And John had a job set up working in the same industry, and which was RVs. And then we were doing okay. We were having a hard time finding a rental. But I'm going to cut the story short, and we moved to Long Beach, found a rental. We're doing okay. Then John lost his job. He was laid off, which was out of our control. And then he got another job and he went on workers' comp. And
One little window.
because of that, we weren't able to,
Motherfucking panther
because he
egg on
was
me.
doing
I think that's
physical
what I purple
therapy and was
earlier.
on workers' comp for so
Yeah,
long.
it is.
We weren't able to pay the bills with that or even our rent, so he had to start driving for Uber and Lyft. So
Why am I in the fucking
he
boat?
started driving. Well, he signed up for
Did it force you to start on the
to
carrier?
drive for Uber and Lyft, but he only was able to drive for Lyft because there was an issue with Uber. I don't know.
Yeah.
So then
Alright, I'm
he was
airborne.
driving for Lyft and it was all right, whatever. Then he got his insurance license to do life insurance, but that he was still driving, you
Motherfucker has
know,
6 kills. He's done all of the
because while you're
weapons.
training with the life insurance, it's private contractor, so
died
it's
2
sales
times.
only, and if you don't make any sales, then like that's $0 for the day or whatever. So he had to do something. So he was driving Lyft, doing okay, you know. Then we had problems with the place that we lived in, Long Beach. So we had to move, and we moved into the same apartment complex as my mom. And John was still doing the insurance
One engaging you
thing
from
and
the
was
spawn.
still driving for
Did you
Lyft.
get your bomb off?
Driving 10, 12 hours a day, barely making it by. And then he ended up having to stop working at the insurance thing just because he had to drive, you know, because we had to make money. So he stopped driving. Stopped doing the Uber. Lyft, I mean. He was driving for Lyft. Lyft. Yes, he was driving for Lyft. And then he had to stop doing that. So the insurance thinks he was driving for Lyft.
What?
And then he just drove 7 days a week, like
Abandon the
8-10 hours a day, right? You know, just barely making it by. And we were paying late fees on our rent, which was okay because we were making our rent and payments. So we would pay partial on time, then we would do a couple more payments in late fees. But then y'all, the office sent a notice that said that we weren't allowed to do late payments on, we weren't allowed to pay the rent in payments, and we had to always pay it all in full now, and that was part of the rules. So then they were like, you need to come up with the rest of the money by the end of the day, otherwise you're going to be evicted today. They would start the evicting process when this was not today, but when they sent this notice. So then yeah, so that's what happened, and we were like, oh my gosh, you don't have the money. So John drove 10 hours, and he still didn't have the money. So then my mom got word of this. We had to tell her because we were like, what are we gonna do? You know, like, we're out of money. So she spotted us for the rest of that rent, and then John was like, okay, this is not gonna work. So he went and tried and signed up for Uber because he decided, oh, you know, I could drive for Uber and Lyft and might make up the difference. So he had a problem signing up for Uber. Long story short, he ended up fixing that, and then he started driving for Uber full time. And yeah, he makes about $15 an hour with Uber because it seems like Uber is 10 times more popular, and you get barely any drives for Lyft, and he gets 10 times more for Uber, and it's been working out great for us. We're making it. So no problems there. But we needed a way to advance, obviously. And we had a lot more options now because my dad had died in February with breast cancer, which if you want me to do a whole video about that, we have the CHEK2 gene. And yeah, my sister's got the same one. So that's a whole other story if you want me to do a story on that. It's kind of an interesting story about genes and how they're passed down to generation to generation. And you learn some information about cancers in your body and it's things I didn't know. So, because I've been doing my research. But anyways, so fast forward, bloop, 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 bloop. You will be confused if you do not watch the rest of those videos. So again, I'll wait if you haven't watched them yet. Boop, 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 doop, ba-doop, ba-doop, ba-doop. All right. So hopefully when you watch those videos. But yeah, so you guys, super excited because okay, so my mom may or may not retire soon or in 5 years. There's a whole story behind that. But either way, we were like, okay, what are we gonna do? So there's this company. It's called Sysco, Sysco, not with a C, it's an S, because it's a restaurant supply company, and my mom has been ordering them for like 15 years or something because she worked in all these restaurants and whatever, and so yeah, she knew all the people over there, and they were like, oh, they're hiring. So my mom was like, oh, could you put a good word in for us? And so she told John that they were hiring, and then the link was sent to us so that we could apply to the different places in Sysco, which is a restaurant supply company, like I said. So they have a warehouse. So anyways, so they we applied. I do all the job applications and the resumes and stuff like that because I'm better with words, and he's always gotten a good job just because I had the wording. And I was like super sad because if we didn't move here back from Sacramento, then this year we would have been buying a house. And that's super sad. And my mom's like, well, you shouldn't think about the what ifs and the back then, and our life wouldn't be the way it is if we didn't do that. And we were like super excited because we had picked out the house we wanted in downtown Sacramento in a walking district with all the nice trees and things to do, and we were super excited. We were ready to buy. And now my mom doesn't believe that at all, and she thinks that John is just never able to take care of us, whatever. But we were fine in Sacramento until we came down here and we started suffering. But yeah, so then that's a whole nother argument that I just won't get into. But we were super sad about that, but we were super excited because the whole plan has just changed. So I went and applied to this place, Sysco. It was not yesterday, but the day before. I applied at midnight, whatever. I couldn't sleep and I was just doing this application. I was super excited. So I applied to 5 positions. There's some in Walnut, which is just west of Riverside, and then somewhere in City of Industry, which is over by Los Angeles. So, there was that. And then I applied at midnight, and then at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning the next day, they called us. Well, it was the same day because it was midnight, but they called in the morning, and that was fast turnaround. They don't mess around, and they give you insurance, health insurance, a 401k, paid leave time, overtime pay, lots of overtime, holiday pay, all that stuff. And then after a certain period of time, once you're established as a company, if you decide to move far, anywhere in the U.S., and they would transfer you because they have places all over the U.S. So John doesn't have a CDL license, but he does have lots of experience in working in warehouses. So the two things they did a phone interview for was the pallet lifting. You working in the warehouse doing the heavy lifting, which is $19 an hour and goes all the way up to $25 an hour. And then they also had him do a phone interview for manager of the fruits and vegetable department, I think it was. But that was that starts at $17 an hour. And the reason that the pallet lifting is more, even though he'd be in management, is because pallet lifting is heavy lifting and it's hard on your body, etc. Because they pay you more for that. Because the management one is more office things and whatever. Yeah, so the management job is less because it's in the office. So I think that long term, though, management would be pay more, but I don't know what the max amount was for that. And they were saying like CDL drivers get like $80,000 a year. But then I think John was saying something like CDL drivers, I mean, $25 an hour is also the same as that, anyways. So even if that was the case, but they really liked him. But all we did was the phone interview. Yeah, so we're waiting to hear back from that. But my mom put in a good word for us, and the lady that she talked to from the company is really pushing our application. So that's good. And then we found, oh, dude, like I just found, or John found it, but I didn't know about this, but like, you can buy a 2-bedroom house, like a container house, for $70,000 on Amazon and like fully delivered to you, ready to go, whatever. And so that's pretty cool. Yeah, so I didn't know about that, but that's super cool. And so we were looking into that. It's only a 2-bedroom house for $70,000, and that does sound like a lot. But you get to customize the whole thing, and they'll deliver it to your land. And I was looking, we were deciding where we wanted to go, since the whole plan has changed now. Since we kind of the places that got back to us for the job at Cisco were they were in Walnut, which is just west of Riverside. So that's 30 miles from here. So that's not a big deal if you're making $19.25 an hour, right? But of course we would want to do something else, but if we could still live here, and then once our lease is up, because our lease is up in March, then we would be able to either, I don't know if we're going to be ready to buy by then, but we could go month to month if we only needed a few more months before we were ready after our lease is up. And the thing about that, though, is it's more expensive to do month to month, but if we only need like a month or 2 months or 3 months more, then we could go ahead and do that. And with his income, we'd be able to absorb that cost. Now, for $70,000, it is only a 2-bedroom. So we would need to figure out something else because there's 4 of us and then my mom, of course. So maybe if we did buy land, we would have like one of those hobbit houses, like I call it, or those sandbag houses. Hold up. What do you call those sandbag houses, John?
Earth bag.
Yeah, earth bag houses. And somewhere, like I think it's Riverside or something like that, they there's the guy who like started the whole earth bag thing has a class that you can take to learn how to make them, but they're not that hard, right? Make the earth bags.
To build them, no. A shit ton of hard work.
Okay, so they're the pain in the butt apparently, but that's an idea, and I really like them because you can put like tarp stuff on it and like grow your own like garden on it and have, I love those houses like you see sometimes in Ireland or places like that, you know, where they've got like, have you seen them? They've got like vines growing on the outside. It's pretty cool. And it's like the whole house is green, covered in like growing stuff. Like, you know, sometimes when you're driving on the side of the freeway and you see those vines growing on the wall. Yeah, I love that stuff. I know you guys like it too, because that's like, you guys are totally hippies too. But anyways, yeah, so there's that. And so I was looking at land because all over California, but I wanted to make it something that was easy, you know, to get to wherever we needed to go, but not be in the middle of nowhere, because we were originally in you probably watched my other video that I was talking about because I've been showing y'all, but they have, we were talking about Eureka, which then my mom said that Eureka's too secluded from the rest of California. And I don't know what land is available over there because I wasn't really looking at land, but I was looking at,
Yeah, it does. It does. It's not.
I was looking at houses to buy and rent, and I like Eureka, so that's still in my brain. But, you know, she's just, if we were going to do that, it would not be on her watch, and it would just be us, because that's a whole nother story, and I'm not going to leave her behind if she says no, because if she does work another 5 years, you know, then we'll be all the way in Eureka, and she'll be way down here, and it's too hard to get to because it's over 10 hours drive. And, you know, not only that, but you can't get to it on an Amtrak. Well, I guess you could, but you would have to take a train. Well, first you would take a bus to a commuter train to another bus, and that would go all the way to Eureka. And my mom's unwilling to sit on a bus. And then you could take an airplane to Humboldt, but then that would cost you $1,000 round trip. Who's going to want to do that? Right. So, we decided that maybe Temecula might be a thing. Dude, like, I found land. It was just over like 14 and a quarter acres of land for like $180,000, and it had it had a avocado grove on it and a stream that went through it. And, you know, that kind of sounds a lot for everybody else in the United States, but California's super expensive. So for us, that's a good deal if we're going to stay in California, you know what I mean? So, there's that. Yeah, so, we're actively looking in Temecula, looking at land, and we're scoping out all the different things that are available, because it's going to be hard, because I noticed that a lot of land that's in Temecula, which is still Riverside County, but, you know, Temecula, I noticed, like, a lot of it is, like, the land is not flattened out or excavated or whatever for putting a house on. Like, you'd still have to flatten out the land, excavate it, get all the wildlife off, figure out where there's water, and figure out where there's electricity. And that's probably going to be more expensive and more of a hassle and more of a pain in the butt than it's worth. So I don't know, but that's one thing that we're looking into, okay? And then there is land that's available that's already ready. Some of them have wells on them, and on the main road they have ready for electricity. But then you got to think, I know it's first world problem, but it would be satellite dishes for TV. And then how would you get internet? Like, that's how we do most of our work, is through the internet. And so that's an important thing to look into, which I haven't, because a lot of Temecula is kind of in the middle of nowhere. And I always thought that Temecula was in the middle of nowhere, but I guess it's getting a lot more developed, and there's a lot more to do from what I had previously known. Excuse me, like, that just ended because it had size limit. I gotta, like, clean out my phone because it's getting compacted with too much stuff in it. But anyways, that's the end of that story, right?
I know they were building a house.
Well, for now. So our plans have completely changed from where we had started to now. Like, now, we're still looking into the land thing. Oh, I'm really into the Temecula deal, but then we'd have to search all of California. And then we would, you know, if we bought a place and we wanted to live here, then if we ever decided at some point that we wanted to leave California, we would have a place that we owned that we could rent out and make residual income. You know what I mean? So there's always that to fall back on, but we have family here and everybody we know, and if John gets this job in Walnut, then we would have all that money. Yeah, so that's super exciting, and fingers crossed that he gets that job, because $23 an hour with all the benefits is like, what did he say? It was like the most paying job that he ever got. So I don't, right after he did the phone interview, we haven't heard back from them, which was a few days ago. And then my mom mentioned to them the same day that he did the phone interview that she mentioned to the lady, oh, he did the phone interview, push his application, ask about it, whatever. And so she was going to do that for us. And then I told John that he should give them a call on Monday to give them a call on Monday to see, hey, what's going on with my application, just so they know, I'm serious. I really want this job. So I want to know where you are with that. And I think what he was saying is that they really liked him and he was qualified for both positions. They just needed to talk, like the managers needed to talk and decide, do they want him as a manager position or did they want him in the warehouse position? And he was saying he would be able to sustain a management position longer for more years rather than the heavy lifting in the warehouse, just because it's wear and tear on your body. And, for how old he's getting now, it would just be hard to sustain. But like he said, right, like you guys said too, our kids gotta eat. So, he's good with that. And he's willing to do whatever it is that's gonna feed our kids. So that's that. That's part of being a parent. That's part of being a good dad. And our kids look up to him. So there's that. But that's where we're at so far. So fingers crossed, because I really, 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 really hope for this, because that'll be a big opportunity for us. But if we do get land, I definitely want a jacuzzi, or at least a jacuzzi tub, because our kids get a lot of use out of the jacuzzi and it makes them sleep good. I know, right? So yeah, that's the end of that story. So I'll keep you updated with more adventures, and yeah, I'll let you know. But hey, I gotta go because I'm gonna go take a shower. I'm gonna take Gizmo in the shower with me. Yeah, I do take my dog in the shower. It's not a big deal, really. I just soap him up and let him out. It's much easier, and then I don't waste as much water. And he's tiny, so put a towel on him and he dries in a second because he's mostly skin, so it makes my life easier. But yeah, so I'm gonna go take a shower, and yeah, I'll talk to you later. Okay, bye.